started, please? Everyone, please rise and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. You have a cell phone on your person. If you'd be so kind as either to silence it or turn it off during the meeting. For those who wish to address the board, there is a specific place on the agenda for that, the non-agenda reception of visitors. There are slips, I believe, out in the room, just outside of the boardroom here. If you'd be so kind as to complete that and turn it in to me, that would be terrific. So with that, let's go ahead and get underway. Callie, roll call, please.
Cheryl Armstrong? Yes. Jeff Branson?
Yes.
Dave Earp?
Here.
John Hedges?
Here.
Ashley Overton? Here. Jacob Ball?
Here.
Dale Ryder?
Here. Item 2 on the agenda, reception of visitors. We have no agenda visitors. Do we have any non-agenda visitors who wish to address the board? Seeing none, let's move on to item 3. That is the consent agenda. It does require board action. On the consent agenda are the following items. Under 3.1, the approval of the minutes from the regular board meeting of June 10th, as well as the special board meeting of June 27th. Item 3.2, approval of the Freedom of Information Report. Item 3.3, approval of overnight trips for IESA and IHSA state series events for the 25-26 school year. Those are the items on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda? Motion from Ashley Overton. Is there a second? Second from Cheryl Armstrong. Callie, would you please call the roll?
Branson?
Yes.
Earp?
Yes.
Hedges?
Yes.
Overton? Yes. Uphaul?
Yes.
Armstrong? Yes. Ryder?
Yes. Item 4, reports and recommendations of other district personnel. That is tonight. Trent Duckett, the athletic director. Trent?
Good evening, board and visitors here. I'm tasked with updating everyone on our current our wall of fame status. If you remember, I want to say 2 months ago, is that about 2 months ago, we had some conversations with our public, with parents that were concerned or had some concerns about how we handled the wall of fame at the high school. And with doing remodels of the main gym in that hallway area, we put together a committee, and that committee was composed of coaches, current athletes, our public, and then parents and myself. And then we had 2 board members that are serve on the facility committee. So Dave Earp and John Hedges were a part of that committee. And we met 2 times. And I do want to say, so I don't want to leave anybody out for the work that they put in, because we did spend a good amount of time having good discussion. So on that committee, we had Troy Hackey as a teacher and coach, Lindsay Sewell as a parent, former parent, current parent. Lisa Clapp also sat on that committee. Chris Hartbank, a community member. John Hedges and Dave Earp, as mentioned. And Chris Serdick, who is the local historian here in Mattoon. He was willing to sit on that committee with us as kind of a non-partisan, but also a historian and important on keeping us up to date on what that looked like. And Kaylin Ryan was, I think there was Kaylin Ryan was the current student, so she runs cross country and track. And so she sat on that committee with us. And we had a really good discussion. The purpose of it was to hear what the community felt, or to hear the community concerns, and then come up with some ideas on how we could address those. So we had a really good discussion in that first meeting, and how we ended that first meeting was we each came up with, or not each, but we kind of pooled together our thoughts and our ideas about what are some options that we could do. How could we handle this situation? And I think early on in that conversation, and the guys, and I see Lisa's here as well, early on in those conversations, we immediately decided, hey, we want to make sure that we have our athletes up on the wall, right? We want them to have a physical presence, because during the 2019 to 2025 years, they were no longer physically on the wall. They were on the digital TV, the touch wall TV. And vice versa, the ones that were on the wall were not on the TV. There's a lot of features that the TV has that we think could bring value as well. So what the community decided is we're going to do both. So if you're on the wall, you'll be on the TV. If you're on the TV, you'll be on the wall. And so through those conversations, we sat on those for, I think, 2 weeks, and kind of reached out to the constituents and said, hey, this is what we're thinking, and we tried to get some additional feedback. And from that, we met again, and we came to a consensus as a group after discussing those decisions that we do want to, again, honor everybody. We chose a location, if you will. We felt that it was important that they all stay in the main hallway, that hallway that leads between the cafeteria and the gymnasium. And so in order to do that, we have made the choice to resize what is currently on the wall. So those plaques that are on the wall will not be what recognizes our individuals anymore. The picture will be right about the exact same size. So the current picture on the wall is at 8 by 10. That's the size of the picture. And so we looked at some options on how we could best do that. And I did bring a sample. We're here. We have a couple of different renditions of what it could look like. But this is essentially what the framing system will look like. So that wall, starting in just south of that second gym doors where you enter, currently has our teams on there, like all the teams and their recognition. And then on the opposite side is where our individuals are. So the committee decided that we would like to combine those together. So we want to be able to look at the class of whatever, 1974, and see the kids and the teams all from that area. So you're not looking in multiple places to find them. And so what we will do is we're going to move to a system that's like this, and you guys can pass it down, and I'll show those that came as well. But this is just one rendition that Katie, who does great work, kind of put together for us. But we have a couple different options that we want to see what really looks the best up there and what gives the best appeal for that area. The picture is still the picture that is on the plaque. We'll scan that in and use that same picture, and the information that's on the plaque will not change. So all the things that are listed on those plaques are going to continue to be on those plaques. One thing that we are going to add to these is we're going to add the reason why the person is on the wall. So right now, it just is a list of all their achievements and accomplishments in high school. But there are only 4 things that get you, as a general person, to get you onto the wall. So it will list underneath their name and the class that they're inducted, it will list why. So one of those reasons is if you're a conference champion, right? So if you're an individual conference champion in, let's say, track, it will say the reason you're up there is conference champion. Now over here, it might list all these other things that you've done, which are currently on the plaques. But I think it's important that we list why you're up there. There will also be a place on the wall that highlights how you get on the wall. We talk a lot about kids wanting to be motivated by ways to get on the wall. It will list these are the requirements that have been the requirements since the onset of our current Hall of Fame to reach that and achieve that status. So that is that's kind of where we settled. I think we had a really good discussion. I would like to ask Dave or John to jump in or share, and Lisa as well, since I see Lisa back there, to see if she has any kind of ideas on, or anybody wants to share anything about our committee discussion. Yes, you sure can.
Is that smaller than what's hanging up there now?
So the current size of that wood plaque is 11 by 16, and that is about
behind it.
the wood behind it. Because on our wood plaques, we have the same repetitive thing. We have a logo that's about 6 by 6, it's a 3 by 6 in Mattoon Hall of Fame. So there's some repetitive stuff on there that we'll be able to shrink down and get more people on the wall. So the goal is, we know that in perpetuity, because on Greenway forever and ever, right? There eventually will run out of space on the wall, even with making changes. But we want to provide as much opportunity to keep as many kids right there outside the gym doors as we can.
The second question is, the ones that are going to be taken down, is there going to be an effort to get those to the kids and their families?
I think we want to, one thing, they all already got one, right? So everybody's got, they're given one. And we're going to do our best. We haven't tried to take them down yet. We haven't jumped into that one to present to you all first, let you know what's going on. But we're going to do our best. But I can't promise, because they are screwed in underneath the pictures and underneath the plaques and then glued on top of that. So we're going to do our best. But every family, if they were a deceased person, because they started in the 70s, so those people in the 20s and 30s, their families were presented one already. So they do already have one. If we can, we'll see what they look like when they come.
So what's the timeline for completion?
The goal is still to be done by the first volleyball game of August 22nd, I believe.
So you said nothing's been taken down?
Nothing's taken down yet. When they'll start taking it down, we will, I've talked to Kelly, our head custodian, we will make first attempts at what it's gonna take to take them down tomorrow.
Okay.
So we're gonna jump right on it.
Okay.
Sure.
On average, how many students get on the wall each year?
3 to 5, and the same for teams, 3 to 5 teams.
Okay,
So-
so we're not talking massive.
We're not talking massive numbers, no. We have, to make up that gap from 2019 to 2025, we have, I believe, 14 individuals, and I think it's 18 teams that we'll add in there that don't physically have a current location on it.
One thing I want to point out, with this new system, those are open for any, so if there's a change in sequence, so for instance, if we have somebody that didn't get that honor in high school, but now been a professional athlete, I'm gonna put them in, we can change those around, with this state's.
Yeah, the guidelines for the Hall of Fame has always reserved that provision that you can add somebody in that's done something post-high school to be added into the Hall of Fame. So, it takes a committee decision to make that move. It's not like I just pick my friend and say, oh, well, they should be up there. So it takes a committee decision to make that move, and it's got to include the coaches, current coaching staff on, does that person meet the requirements or the standard that we've set for achieving Hall of Fame status.
And I want to say thank you to the committee, because it was very respectful, open dialogue. And I feel like we really moved things forward. I want to thank Jim and Dale for allowing me to be on that committee and being part of this for a long time now in high school division.
Lisa, do you have, I don't want to put you on the spot, I just didn't know if you had any other things you wanted to add?
No, we said that those wood plaques were like 150 a piece.
Yeah.
And we were giving one to the student, keeping one for the school. These frames were what, like significantly
Yeah,
less
correct.
expensive?
Yeah.
So,
And the kids will still get something, like we probably won't go back to, they'll still get something very nice, a matted, framed, professionally framed and done work. So they're still gonna get something when they achieve that status. It's not going away. But this is what will be presented or used in the building to recognize it. And we'll use, that's just typical copy paper. We'll put quality photo paper in there. It'll be done right. It'll look good. I promise. A high standard of what things look like. So we'll make sure it looks right.
Yeah, everyone on the committee was very respectful. There wasn't always agreements on everything, but there were concessions made by some and others, and I think we came to a decision that every party was satisfied. And it'll keep a long-standing tradition.
Any question? Any other questions from the board?
Well done.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, well done. Thank you very much, Karen. Item 5 on the agenda, reports and recommendations of the business manager. Mr. Geary, you won the award for carrying the most mail tonight.
I know. I'll take these guys. Jump right into it. Our 5.1 presentation of tentative FY26 budget. No action tonight on this, just information. And I'll come back to you in September with a more exact budget. Hopefully be approved at the September board meeting. These are tentative numbers to start the year off, and just some things that I've worked on. There's still a lot of unknowns as we move into this. It's kind of funny, you start a fiscal year July 1, but you don't approve a budget until September. That's how Disney works, and that's similar to what we're doing now. If you think we were here 10 days ago, and did the amended budget, the revenues ended, I think 52.2. So this is a little bit less revenues than we ended with the amended budget at the end of the FY25 year. Expenses are a little bit more than what we ended with at 51.7 million, but still hopefully a surplus of around 334,000. So you can see, again, our education fund, the 10 fund is still by far the greatest. Teacher salaries, teacher benefits, all of our educational things come in that. 20 is our maintenance fund. You notice if you compare it to last year, it's quite a bit less. And last year we spent a lot of our ESSER's money on projects with our federal funding, our federal grant money, which no longer exists. So that's down a little bit from where it was last year. This 30 is our bonds and our debt certificate. You can see that they just cash out and just keep it out. 40 is our transportation fund. What we pay our bus drivers, our bus lease, and those out of, again, very close, our expenses and our revenues. Our 50 fund is our IMRF and Social Security, again, very close, and probably, as we talked about last December, we paid off some unfunded liability. We'll probably do that again. We'll see where we fit with our revenues, and then we'll probably pay up almost to that amount to get our unfunded liability down as much as we can. I have bumped our sales tax money up to 1.9 million, and we lumped that in with what the debt is. It comes up to about 3.4 million. I think it was 3.477 this year. So a little bit less, but 200,000 more than we budgeted last year, because that's been pretty consistent over the last couple of years. 70 is our working cash. That's just revenue from interest in our accounts. And then our 90 fund is a very small thing with health and life safety. So that is our tentative budget for now. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, or you can ask questions now as well.
What did you say, 60 was again? That's the money for.
That's our sales tax, 1% sales tax that we use to do our projects throughout the system.
Yeah.
And like we talked about last week, we try to spend what we bring in with that money, we try to spend to update our facilities as much as we can in that fiscal year.
Part of Ryan's $200,000 reduction from total of that 52 million has to do with federal and state uncertainty right now. So by September, that number will likely change, and we'll have a better understanding of where that number will come in at before the upcoming year. So
We still don't know what our evidence-based funding from the state is, that they won't release that probably for another month. Any other questions? Again, no action tonight, just some information to kind of wrap your head around, and you'll get that same 5036 form a couple weeks in advance of the September board meeting, so you can look at more itemized than what this is, and compare it to the 5036 form you got last week to the last week. Okay, 5.2, board action. We will need to vote on this one to establish a public hearing for the fiscal year 26 budget. We're going to do this a little bit differently than we've done in the past. This is similar to some other districts around us. We plan on having a budget hearing at 6:45. It's the same night as the regular board meeting, but we'll have at 6:45. We'll have a budget hearing. We'll get that, the board and the community can ask questions. We'll wrap that up, and then we'll approve the budget during the regular board meeting on that night at 7 after 7 o'clock. So this is to set up the public hearing for the budget at 6:45 on September 9th. And the board approval board.
Is this your commitment to bring the budget hearing in within 15 minutes?
See the questions they have?
Okay. Is there a motion to establish the public hearing date of September 9th at 6:45 PM to approve the fiscal year 26 budget? Motion by John Hedges, second by Dave Erb. Any discussion on the board?
Erb,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Overton. Yes. Uphoff,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Branson,
Yes.
Ryder.
Yes.
All right, we have a guest, a couple guests today. We have Al Pinchek from the city of Mattoon, and his sidekick Kyle is here giving moral support. So I'm going to let Alex talk to you guys, talk about some TIF districts. I think I have listed on the budget the downtown TIF district and a residential TIF district. I think you're just going to talk about the first one tonight,
Yeah, we're just talking about the Midtown TIF district today.
and then we'll bring the residential one later in the year.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for the opportunity to be here today. A little bit about me, just real quick. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Alex Benishek. I'm originally from Sarasota, Florida. And so usually when I say that, most people say like, hey, why is this alligator in my cornfield, right? And so I was fortunate enough to be able to have the opportunity to serve in Peace Corps, the Republic of North Macedonia, which is right above Greece. Unfortunately, that happened from 2019 to 2020. We all know what happened that year. So there was a global evacuation of over 7,000 Peace Corps volunteers, came back, decided to get a master's degree in community economic development at Western Illinois University and the Illinois Institute for Rural Affairs. And as part of that program, I was brought here to Mattoon to serve with Mattoon in Motion for a year back in 2022. And then the city created my role that I serve in now, the Community Development Planning Director. So thrilled to be here today. And enough about me. We're going to be talking about the Midtown TIF District extension tonight. So we are respectfully requesting that all of the taxing bodies within Mattoon approve approve an extension to the Midtown TIF district for a period of 12 years. The TIF district is set to expire, our downtown TIF district, in 2027. So we're asking for an extension from 27 and then 12 years onwards. And, this is an essential economic development tool for our community, for the health and safety of our downtown, and just the general, community revitalization of our downtown spaces. And without it, our downtown is going to have an increased risk for blight and deterioration. And so this is the map of the Midtown TIF district. You'll see that there's two separate colors, so it's split into two different phases. The main funding phase is phase 1, which is this green area here. It's Broadway Avenue, a couple of the surrounding streets. And then you have phase 2, the purple area, which goes down about an eighth down Lakeland Boulevard. And so effectively, this is an area on the map, and in this area only are we able to expend TIF district funds. And so how do we do that? What does that structure look like? Well, so effectively in this green area here, phase 1, we have a total project funding amount of up to $80,000 across all categories. So we fund facade improvements, structural repairs, and code compliance. And so each one of these can receive up to $40,000 in that category to a total of $80,000. So facade will fund 90% of a project's cost. So you're talking exterior buildings, signage, windows, doors, stuff like that. Structural repairs will fund up to 75% of a project's cost. So that could be, support columns and most importantly, roofs. Because if you don't have a repaired roof, you have a dilapidated building really quick. And then code compliance will do 50% of a project's cost, again, up to $40,000 for code compliance. So that could be like ADA restrooms, elevators, stuff like that. Really important things to make sure that our buildings in our downtown are accessible to everybody in the community. And then phase 2, the purple area, it's essentially the same thing. Everything's funded at 50% for a maximum of $40,000, and in that category, and a maximum total project funding of $40,000. And so typically, all of the projects that we do and fund through the TIF district are funded on a pay-as-you-go basis. So we're not handing money to the developer right off the bat, and then they go build the project. They have to have skin in the game, so they complete the project themselves, and then the city reimbursed them over 3 years. So for example, if we had a $30,000 TIF exterior, facade project, effectively the contractor would pay all of those costs and submit an invoice for $30,000 to the city. Say, hey, look, we've done all the work, here's pictures, come inspect it, and it's all paid for. Then every September, for a period of 3 years, they receive $10,000 until what we agreed upon for funding is paid out. And so, in short, again, TIF districts are areas on the map where property tax that's being distributed to taxing bodies is frozen for a period of 23 years. So this is not a new tax. This is not, an additional thing on your sales tax receipt. That's a separate program. This is just property taxes are frozen at that rate from where going to the existing taxing bodies. And then any money that's allocated in the future from there, from, increases in property tax or new developments in the area, let's say we have an Amazon center come, right? There's going to be a lot more property tax that's coming into the area. All of that new increment that's created after the TIF is established is then put in a special fund that's able to be utilized in those areas on the map. Per state law, we cannot use TIF funds for new construction. We can help out with like roads, water, sewer, infrastructure, stuff like that. The second you try to build vertical, you can't use TIF for it. It's primarily a tool to help blight. So demolitions, repairing our downtown, things like that. I mean, if you look at downtown 10 years ago versus today, that's because of the TIF. And so again, these can't just be made out of thin air. Originally, it takes about 9 months to make a TIF district, and we did that 21 years ago. And it's a public process, multiple public hearings that requires all the properties in the district that you're including to meet certain criteria. So that's, roofs falling down, things like that, flooding, obsolete platting, where there's no way for a developer to move forward with the project because they're not able to make the planning work. And then again, all of the taxing bodies have to approve that if we're gonna go ahead with the 12-year extension, which is why we're here today. And so here's kind of a zoom in of what that map looks like. So here's your base taxing revenue. TIF districts created, new development happens, and then that increment is allocated into that special fund to be used to revitalize our community for 23 years, and in this case, a one-time 12-year extension. And so super simple example, let's say before a TIF, the city's getting $5, schools are getting $5, county's getting $5 in property tax, $15 total, right, in this specific area. Now we make a TIF, but there's no new development, $5 to the city, $5 to the schools, $5 to the county, $0 to the TIF district. And then let's say we have a complete revitalization of an area and property values go up, therefore property taxes go up. And let's say they go up by $10. Everybody's still getting their $5. No money's being taken away from existing taxing bodies, but the extra $10, now that we're at 25 instead of 15, goes into the TIF district to help revitalize our community. And this is currently last year's balance sheet for the TIF district. So on average, each year we get about $800,000 that's deposited into the TIF district from property taxes in the Midtown TIF district. For the life of this TIF so far, we've created about $8 million worth of revenue that we have poured back into our downtown. And each year, 20% of that $800,000 is sent back to the existing taxing bodies at whatever rate you typically receive for your distribution of property tax. And the vast majority of all of our TIF projects are not typically something that you can really see day to day. They're mostly roof replacements because we're trying to save all of these buildings downtown. So it's really hard to challenge, it's really challenging to document that visually if there wasn't a giant hole in the roof, right? So again, ensuring a building is weather tight is the first step to revitalizing a downtown building. And according to the Center for Community Progress, 2/3 of all property tax damage is created by the first lighted property on a block. And so here's an example of some of the things that we've done with TIF recently. So we used to call these the Three Little Pigs. These were buildings, 3 structures at the end of Broadway Avenue and 19th Street. Unfortunately, they were beyond repair because they've been neglected for so long. And so what we ended up doing is partnering with the owner, and we knocked them down. And we have some really cool plans that we can't talk about yet for this space, but we're absolutely going to be reinvesting into this area with some really fun, family-friendly opportunities here. Outside of that, here's another demolition project on Lakeland Boulevard. This was a house that had kind of fallen into some disrepair. Maybe you could rent it out, but there was a person that came in, bought the property, and asked the city for help. So what did we do? We said, hey, what do you want to do with this? He said, I might want to turn this into a commercial business, maybe a coffee shop, try and get a tenant like that, quick service restaurant. And so we partnered with that individual and they developed this property there with the city's assistance to be able to knock down that structure. And from there, looking towards the future, we're always going to continue to do the facade, roof repair, code compliance. But we're also doing a lot of neat things with some of the developers in town. This is a rendering at the corner of 15th and Broadway for potentially what that corner could look like. This is I'm not originally from that team, but I believe this was like a photography studio at one time. So really neat kind of concept. Time Theater's on the list as well. So that's going to be happening hopefully within the next couple of years or so. Roof replacements, again, we're always going to do roof replacements. And then really unique opportunity here. This is a photo of Batavia Boardwalk Shops. And it's something that we found inspiration from as a municipality. Essentially, these are 12 by 12 sheds. They're air conditioned and then they have a shared bathroom. And the idea is that you can get local entrepreneurs into these for $50, $100 a month so that they have a brick and mortar presence in your community. And then essentially they'd be able to build their brand and build their business and bring it somewhere else in town once they grow. So that can't be funded entirely through TIF, but it is an option. So, we're just trying to find unique and innovative ways to help revitalize our community. And so, at the end of the day, the benefits of extending the Midtown TIF district are exponentially clear. And that's why the city of Mattoon is respectfully asking the school board tonight to pass the resolution of support that we provided to you. We know that's going to be at the next meeting, and we're just thrilled for the opportunity to continue to grow Mattoon and revitalize our community, and we need your help to do that. So thank you for your time. I'd love to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. I just had one question. The 12-year extension, that 12-year, is there any rationale behind that, or is that just kind of standard operating?
State law.
Okay.
Yeah, state law TIF extensions are always 12 years, and they require a support letter from every single taxing.
So Alex, just to follow up with that, Connie, I want to jump in here too, but at 2039, when the 23-year TIF that was started in 2004 expires, and then this 12-year extension expires, what's the next step potentially for that at that point?
It really depends on what legislation does with the TIFs. I mean, there is always legislators that are trying to make it harder to extend TIFs or to do away with get TIFs. So really don't know. I think there's only been one instance where a community got to get chunks of the city of Chicago. Other than that, I've not heard yet, and there could be no get to extension. So
It sets a really good legal precedent for other areas.
Sure. Thank you. Okay.
About how many people apply for a TIF grant per year?
I'd say it's probably close to 15, maybe 20. It just kind of depends on the year. I mean, this has been our busiest year for sure, and we just started the fiscal year. So, yeah, I'd say something around that. Does that seem accurate?
yeah, it varies every year. We'll have one that maybe have 3, but the next year it seems like it doesn't.
There's a lot of renovations going on.
All of 14th and Broadway already has approved roof replacements, but there's a lot more exterior work that needs to be done that they're going to be coming back to us for.
Some of them that we showed some that were demolished and not allowed, nothing rebuilt quickly, but several down on Lake Bend Boulevard, we have to tear down an old liquor store and automotive garage. And we built that subway complex. CPS was also one that we helped change the utilities that were running through the alley. We had to reroute those, so we helped fix it, rerouting those utility systems to build.
I'd also say like the entire Brittany building is an excellent example. When you go into, I believe it's next sale on the bottom floor, then you get the Lumpkin Foundation, and then the One Hope United group. There was a lot of TIF funding involved in that building as well.
Any business that moves into downtown because of the renovations will receive 1% sales tax from that too. So we will get some tax money from that. Just do that every way.
Any questions from the board? The board will have a month to kind of, I guess, deliberate around this, ask questions. If you have questions, feel free to forward them on to Dan and I, forward them on to Kyle and Alex. And there'll be a resolution that we'll share with the board in advance of the next board meeting, and we'll take action. I assume that the board will want to take action at the August board. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you for your
Thank you, Kyle.
All right, back to me. One more thing. 5.4, again, we have, second month in a row, we've had a, someone wants to come and sponsor some of our facilities. All right, Edward Jones has come to us, has come to the district, expressed interest in being a partner with Mattoon Middle School Athletics on the basketball court in their, what we call the Wildcat Gymnasium, the newer one, in the amount of $40,000, $10,000 for 4 years. And the sponsorship includes logo placement on the court, similar to Casey Summers Court at the high school. We'll have the naming rights, we'll have public address mentions at different events. We'll be on our social medias, we'll receive some passes, and some other benefits similar to what the other organizations who have sponsored some of our facilities have been. This would be for a 4-year term at $10,000 a year, and the money we would receive for this would go straight to the middle school for them to help supplement their athletic programs at the high school, so, or at the middle school, sorry. So the middle school administration would manage that, and uniforms, equipment, to help the athletic department at the middle school like we are doing currently at high school. All right, so again, the slide will go hopefully in a minute. Everybody know what's going on?
Yeah, you're right. Touch.
I think it's all the energy being pulled from the concert over here.
There we go. All right, so again, board policy allows us to do this. We set aside a special committee. We met several times. We met last week and talked about this as a committee, voted, we as a committee want to recommend this to the board, so we need board approval for this sponsorship. There we go. So the administrative team recommends that the board approve the Ashland Middle School Gymnasium court sponsorship to Edward Jones. Yes?
The other sponsorships that we've had in the past, is that pretty much, I can't remember how much they donated, was that in line with what they did?
This was a little bit less, middle school, a little bit less exposure, less events there over the year. Less maybe community events as well, like we have on the football field for high school and the basketball court at high school. So this one's a little bit less, we kind of shopped it around and, we're new at this, and this is the money that we can get for that sponsorship. It's a 4-year sponsorship.
Is that less used?
The gym, the high school basketball court is 8 years and the football field is 4 years, so it's similar to the football field. And they'll have the right of first refusal to up this extra.
Yeah, and Jake can speak to this. Jake also sits on that naming rights committee with some other folks. Aaron Ift is one, Courtney Considine's another, Casey Considine, Megan Samala, Matthew Dallas, Dustin Trent, who's been a part of that committee as well. Is there anything you want to add to the conversation around this?
No, I just think it's obviously a great thing. I think we got all kinds of momentum going in the right direction. Starting Casey Summers, posted at the football field, Edward Jones now at the middle school. I mean, it's a few things are just a no-brainer, but I mean, it seems like when somebody wants to support their local community, we get the money, they get the exposure. I think it's a great thing, and just really cool to feel the support of your local businesses support the school. So yeah.
One of the questions that might come up for board members is, how do people that want to partner get involved or get in contact? And I think last time when Ryan was up here, he shared that there is on our website, there's a partnership page. If you even go to the Spyglass and click search and go type up partnership, you'll find that there's a link and there's a list of a bunch of different opportunities. And if none of those are where a partner would want to be interested, we're willing to sit down and have those conversations with folks in our community. I think, as Jake pointed out, I think it's great for the community to be able to invest and support and have their name involved in this, but I also think that it's great for our students and for our staff to be able to have this exposure as well, and it further connects and hopefully extends those partnerships beyond, some of our students' time and maybe into the workforce.
That's what I was going to say, is I'm glad that you have given all the, Franklin, Priesthood, all of, I think that's just a great idea. With different prices,
There's plenty of, plenty of.
Better get going.
I like it.
Motion. Any other questions? Okay, Jacob Hoff, you'd like to make a motion to approve the Matthew Middle School basketball court sponsorship as presented. Second goes to Jeff Ranson. Any discussion on board? Cal?
Hendis.
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Uphoff.
Yes.
Armstrong.
Yes.
Branson.
Yes.
Kirk.
Yes.
Ryder.
Yes.
Thank you. 5.5, board action to accept a donation from Leidos Ameren of $10,000 for LIP. Leidos, in partnership with Ameren, Illinois, would like to donate that money. They're an industry and technology leader serving government and commercial customers with smarter, more efficient digital and mission innovations. They worked with the Ameren Illinois Energy Efficiency Programs, and this will go right along with Dan's Green Energy Floor, and that's where the donation would go to be spent on equipment and upgrades there. This organization donated money in 2023 for scholarships, and they want to partner with us again to help some of our programming. So The administrative team recommends approval of this donation.
We have a motion to approve the donation as presented. Motion from Jay Burke, seconds. Second from Ashley Overton. Discussion on the board. Kelly?
Overton,
Yes.
Uphoff,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Erb,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Ryder.
Yes.
All right, last one. We're gonna spend some money. Back to the high school, we're pretty much mostly done with chillers, I've been told. Now we're moving on to boilers. So we have 4 more boilers at the high school. 2 have not been functioning for quite some time. We've been running on 2. And Dustin has let us know that basically they trip every day. The custodians have to go in and reset them every morning. We're living on borrowed time probably with our boilers at the high school. So we would like to go out to bid for boiler replacement this fall. So we have heat this winter at the high school. So timeline, we hope for board approval to solicit bids at tonight's meeting. Dustin and maintenance crew will work with Upchurch to set up the bidding process. We do a pre-bid meeting on July 29th, a bid opening on August 6th, and bring bids to the board in August, hopefully for approval. And hopefully get them show for the boilers replaced before winter. So the administrative team recommends the board approve the solicitation of bids for the MHS. Boiler. Yes,
And so this is open for, when you say the Upchurch group, it's open for other people to make bids.
there are architects, so they'll go through, they'll set up the specifications for the bid, and then it'll be open for anyone to bid.
They're not a bid.
No, they don't do that. No, there are architecture folks.
Do I understand correctly that this was going to be budget for this year?
Yes, it's planned on being an FY '26 budget. Those numbers I showed you earlier have that in there. It's an estimate as to what it will be. We've never replaced 4 boilers out of high school in 50 years, so this will be new to us. We'll see what the bids come in at, but it is built in that, and we will use
We're replacing all 4. We're taking bids to replace all 4.
We're running on 2.
Okay.
2, which are
Okay.
currently running.
Okay. So this is to replace all 4.
But we will use sales tax money, the 1% sales tax money funds.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? All right, I have a motion to allow the administration to solicit bids to replace the boilers at the high school from Ashley Overton, second. Second from Cheryl Armstrong. Discussion on board. Kelly?
Uphoff,
Yes.
Armstrong,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Erb,
Yes.
Hedges,
Yes.
Overton, Ryder.
Yes, thank you. Item 6, Dr. Scosey.
Thank you. Board has before them July personnel report to go through. We have certified appointment recommending Whitney Toronto, she's back from high school graduate, and back to middle school, 6th grade math teacher, effective for the 25-26 school year. Classified appointments, looking at Lillian Poffenberger, as preschool parapro, effective for the 25-26 school year. The extracurricular assignments, we're recommending Trevor Edwards, Benton High School assistant wrestling coach, effective at the beginning of the 25-26 school year, and Jason Enyer, Benton High School boys head golf coach, effective at the beginning of the 25-26 school year, and Kobe Haney as Benton High School assistant wrestling coach, effective at the beginning of the 25-26 school year. We also have an addendum. Certified resignations, Jacob Private resigned Mattoon Middle School Dean of Students, effective July 8, 2025. Jacob's done a great job for us, we wish him well in his new endeavors. And then classified appointments, Megan Miller as Riddle Elementary School classroom parapro, effective to the 25-26 school year. And extracurricular assignments, Chris Canali, recommending Mattoon Middle School drum line instructor, effective immediately. And Mr. Chris Young, Mattoon Middle School lighthouse coordinator, effective to the 25-26. See none, I recommend the board accept the personnel report as presented.
There's a motion to approve the personnel report as presented by Ashley Overton, second by Dave Burke. Any discussion on the board? Kelly?
Armstrong,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Erb,
Yes.
Hedges, Overton, Uphoff,
Yes.
Ryder.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Scosey.
Real quick before I transition into mine, I'll let Trent share a little bit about MHS golf, because I think the board needs to be aware that we will not have a varsity team this upcoming year due to some numbers. Trent, you want to share a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So over the past 2 years, we've basically graduated our varsity golf team. We have not seen the participation levels at the middle school or the high school for boys golf, unfortunately. Our girls golf team has always traditionally been 5 to 6 players. You typically want 6, 4, you go take 6 to a tournament, 4 score. As of right now, we will only have 2 to 3 that are interested in golf, and they're both underclassmen, so freshmen, sophomores. It is not, in my opinion, and of course I talked with David and Tim as well. It's not, in my opinion, a good place to put kids that aren't comfortable with the game to make them go to varsity golf tournaments and shoot 110 or 115 when the competitors are shooting 74. And it's not good for them. It's just, we need to try and build it back up. So the goal with Mr. Inyard coming in as a new coach, he's at the middle school. So we build some connections there at the middle school and hopefully build that interest back up so that we can quickly return, because golf has been a very successful sport for Mattoon High School, both boys and girls side. So that is kind of, it's upsetting. Golf's one of my biggest hobbies, the thing I do the most outside of family work and whatever. So it's hard to do, but I think it's the right decision for a year to pause on it. We will still host our Craig Dixon 2-day golf invitational. It's one of the biggest golf tournaments in the state. We have 32 of the top teams in the state come. They spend the night. They play one day at Meadowview and they play one day at the Country Club. We're fortunate to have 2 of the nicest golf courses that provide that opportunity. So we will continue that in hopes that we will again participate in the upcoming years. So unfortunately, that's my recommendation to the administrative team, that we pass on varsity boys golf for this year.
Boys and girls?
No, just boys.
But you play at JVs.
Yes, correct. Thank you. Right. We will play our JV season. They will compete. JV is individuals, not enough for a team sport, but they will play. They'll get to go to tournaments. Our normal JV schedule.
So 110, I think I can help, because I can do that now.
And Tim, can I also just about the rest of the you'll notice that we did hire 2 assistant wrestling coaches, and that is made as a growing program. Girls wrestling is now its own sport. It used to be combined in, but they now have this will be the second year for the girls specific postseason. And there are times where we have varsity boys going to one tournament, JV boys going to another, and then girls go to their own tournament and have their own schedule. So for now, we're sticking with 1 main head coach and 2 assistants to fill those roles. So just in case you're wondering why an additional coach at high school for wrestling, that's why that's there.
All right, for fear of getting some tomatoes thrown at me from the teaching audience here tonight, we're going to talk about back to school dates. So just so the board's aware, the board approved this calendar back in February. Staff voted on it. The scheduling committee made the recommendation to begin the first day of school back. We have 1 Teacher Institute day, which is a little different from prior years. We typically had 2 at the start. This year will be 1, and that will start back on Monday the 11th. And then here we go. On the 12th, we'll have students, and they're coming. So we're excited. Dustin and his crew, as well as our custodians in each of the buildings, have had a busy summer schedule, getting everything cleaned, updating, and getting everything ready for students. So I think he said to me on Monday, we've got 5 weeks, and I need maybe a little bit more, but we're going to figure it out. So August 13th, first day with kindergarten attendance, and then just as a reminder, for the September 26th is the Girls County Clash, every way. So looking ahead, this is my shameless plug for parents out there that maybe start to think about this, that we need to register students for the upcoming school year. We're able to do that online. If you have some difficulty with that, please contact the building. The secretaries will be happy to walk you through that. But we think that this process has been streamlined, and any new or incoming students that are transferring in obviously have to come in person to be able to do that. But we're talking about any students that are just enrolling that have been a prior student. So I think right now, Dave, we have about 30%, 36% of students registered for the upcoming year, which is kind of on the trend for the last 3 years. It was 4 weeks hit. So, and then later this month, Dave will make phone calls to the building building, asking village secretaries for their support, making some calls. So if you could spread the word on that, we'd be happy to get that out. Also, obviously, there's information that's already up on the website, was in March, following the board's approval, that kind of give the outline, the calendar at a glance is there for staff and families to be able to view. So any questions about things gearing up for the start of the school year? Back to school breakfast, board members, if you can attend, is that morning. So if you can be there 7:45, 8 o'clock, we'll get things started with some introductions on August. That's all I have.
Seeing no further items, substantive items on the agenda, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion from Ashley Overton, second from Jeff Branson. Kelly?
Grayson,
Yes.
Irv,
Yes.
Hedges, Overton,
Yes.
Uphaul,
Yes.
Armstrong, Ryder.
Yes. Have a good evening, everybody.
And-